You know that feeling when you finally tackle that overwhelming pile of paperwork because your friend came over with her laptop and worked alongside you? There is a name for this phenomenon, and it may just transform how you handle your toughest tasks. All right, welcome to ADHD and with Jory Houlihan. I am Jory Houlihan, your host. I am your guide for the dopamine deprived. Today, we are talking about ADHD and body doubling, a simple yet powerful strategy that ADHD women, once they discover it, wonder how they ever lived without it. I was one of those. We're going to uncover why having another person nearby transforms impossible tasks into manageable ones, explore different ways to incorporate body doubling into your day-to-day life, and share practical tips for finding your perfect body doubling match. So before we dive in, if you have been enjoying this podcast, if you could do me a huge favor and follow the show, leave a comment, and share it with a friend so that we can get this out to more ADHD women. All right, let's get started. Body doubling sounds fancy, but it's actually something you've probably been doing your entire life. So let's break down what it really is and see why it works so well for ADHD brains. So at its core, body doubling simply means having another person present while you do a task. That's it. Pretty simple, right? They don't even need to help you or pay attention to what you're doing. Their presence alone creates an environment that helps you to focus and stay on task. Think back to study halls in school or working in a coffee shop, maybe. Many people with ADHD naturally gravitate to those kind of environments because they provide gentle accountability, if you will, without the judgment. The other person becomes an anchor. That helps to ground us in the present moment and to stay on task and follow through, keeping us grounded in the present moment and follow through on the tasks at hand. For ADHD brains, which often struggle with task initiation and sustained attention, having someone nearby activates different neural pathways. It's like borrowing somebody else's focus, right? It's like borrowing somebody else's executive function without them having to do anything special. They're just there. Their presence helps to regulate our nervous system and makes the boring or overwhelming tasks suddenly doable. Now, this works because ADHD brains often need external structure to compensate for internal regulation challenges. The other person provides subtle social pressure, the good kind, and models focused behavior. So you're essentially creating a container for your attention that wouldn't exist if you were on your own. I've heard many women talk about how they discovered it by accident. Maybe they noticed that they clean better when their partner is around, or they write more efficiently when they do it at the library versus at home. Now, these aren't character flaws. They're not dependencies. They are smart adaptations that your brain developed to work with your neurological wiring and not against it. Very smart. See? Our brain, it is smart. We just don't always understand how it works. Now that we better understand why body doubling works, let's explore concrete ways to build this into your life, whether you work from home, whether you work in an office, whether you're tackling a personal project, or just trying to do some household tasks. This will help you with all of these things. First, virtual body doubling has become increasingly popular and accessible. You can join online co-working sessions where people log on, they share what they're working on, they mute themselves, and then they quietly work together. Platforms like FocusMate, which is my favorite, pair you with accountability partners from all over the world, actually, for timed work sessions. So even having a friend on a video call while you both do your own separate tasks counts as body doubling. For household tasks, you might want to consider a buddy system approach. You can invite a friend over for parallel productivity sessions. If you are a parent, you may remember when your kids were really little and they did parallel play, which is where they were side by side with another kid and they were playing, but just not with each other. They barely even acknowledged each other. This is the same thing, only for productivity as an adult. So in this case, you will each tackle your own to-do lists, but in the same space. You can schedule regular cleaning sessions where everyone comes over and folds their own laundry or sorts through their paperwork. The key is that everyone is working on their own things, but just in the same space. So at work, you might want to relocate to a common area when you have difficult tasks that you need to focus on. Or if you're somebody who needs more quiet, you can book a conference room with a colleague who also needs it to be quiet, and then you can work together during that focus time. You could join or create a silent work club where people get together to work independently, but together. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. So even sitting in a busy cafe can provide the right amount of background presence to help you concentrate. And we are going to be talking about figuring out what your personal preferences is very soon. You also don't want to overlook your family when it comes to body doubling partners. Your kids do homework while you are paying the bills. Your partner is cooking while you are cleaning. You catch my drift. Everybody is doing something in a shared space, but you're doing your own things. And I also want to be clear that the activity doesn't have to match. The presence is what actually matters with this. Technology also offers some creative solutions too. These are not my favorite, but they can work in a pinch. So some people find that having a YouTube video on of somebody studying or cleaning helps them focus. Others use apps that simulate coffee shop sounds or office environments. So while they're not quite the same as real human presence, they can bridge the gap when that's not an option. Like I said, they're not my favorite, but they will work. So I want to address something important here. Needing body doubling does not mean that you are dependent or incapable. It means you understand your brain and you honor what helps it function optimally. So yay, just like some people need glasses to see properly, some of us need strategic support to navigate tasks effectively. Now, not all body doubling works the same for everyone. So let's talk about your preferences here. You want to identify what works best for your unique brain and your lifestyle. So the first thing you want to do, and I'm sure you've heard me say this before, start by noticing your patterns. When do you naturally seek out company when you're doing a task? Which environments help you focus versus distract you? Some people need complete silence with just one other person there, while others thrive in a busy cafe with lots of background noise. So pay attention to when body doubling helps versus when it might actually hinder your progress. Next, you want to consider what types of tasks that you find benefit the most from doing body doubling. So many women find it especially helpful for boring or repetitive tasks like filing, cleaning, data entry, things like that. Others use it for creative endeavors, things where they have to be a little more vulnerable, like writing or art. Some need it most for tasks that they just avoid, like the plague, like taxes, just as an example. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer with this. It's just what works for your brain. I'm sure you are going to get sick of me saying that, but there's a reason that I say this so often. You need to understand how your brain works. Now, the next thing you need to do is figure out who your ideal body doubling partner might be. What are their characteristics? So do you work better with someone that you know well, or maybe a stranger? Do you want to work with someone who's working on similar tasks as you or completely different ones, or it doesn't matter? Do you want someone who checks in periodically or someone who maintains silence through the whole session? You want to ask these questions because these preferences matter and can make the difference between a productive session and a very frustrated attempt at a session. So experiment with different formats so that you can try to find your sweet spot. Try in person versus virtual, try one-on-one versus a group setting, scheduled sessions versus sort of spontaneous sessions, whatever works for you. Play around with them to see what feels best to you. Notice how the time of day may impact your body doubling needs. Morning sessions may work differently than evening ones. And also remember that your body doubling needs might shift due to energy levels, hormonal changes, stress levels, life circumstances, all of the above. So what works during a calm period in your life might need some adjustment during more busy or chaotic times. You just want to stay flexible. Now, this is where rigid thinking or all or nothing thinking might come in, okay? So learning to be flexible is going to be such a gift to yourself. I'm going to have to do an episode just on that. So stay flexible and adjust your approach as needed. Communication with your body doubling partner enhances the experience for everybody. I can't stress that one enough. So share what you're working on if that helps you with the accountability, or you can keep it private if that feels better. Now, I will tell you, I personally think it is better to share what you're working on because we do need that external accountability. And there is something about saying, I'm working on this that makes it more of a solid commitment to what you're going to be doing during that time versus not sharing. Yeah, I even had a guy once during one of my virtual sessions. He actually shared his screen with me so that I could see that he was working on what he said he was working on. I was like, wow, that is accountability. So, but it's up to you. But in my own experience and with the experience of people, my clients, et cetera, who have done body doubling, they have found that it helps to keep them in line a little bit better. You want to establish whether talking is okay or if it's a quiet work session. Now, again, we tend to be, well, not all of us, obviously, but a lot of us tend to be chatty Cathys, right? We like to talk. If your session is being used to help you do something you've been avoiding, it needs to be a quiet session. Because, and ask me how I know this, it is really easy to start talking and then you're just talking and talking and talking. And in your brain, you're like, oh, okay, I'm not having to do that thing. Oh, I'll get around to it later. And you don't end up working on the thing that you were avoiding. And now you're back to square one. You might have had a great conversation, but that's not why you were there. So that's all I'm saying about that. I have found when people chat, it is very distracting for me. That's not why I'm in the session. But you want to communicate what your needs are before your session starts with the other person so that you just know that you're on the same page. Because if you want to chat and they don't, that could be a problem and vice versa. Okay. You also want to set clear start and finish time so that everyone knows what to expect during the session. Okay. So as we wrap this up, I want you to remember, again, that body doubling isn't about dependence or an inability to work alone or being incapable. Quite the opposite. It is a legitimate strategy that works with your ADHD brain instead of against it. So whether you choose virtual co-working sessions, parallel productivity with friends, or just simply relocating to a busier environment like a coffee shop, you are taking active steps to support your success. I think that's a big deal because we usually don't feel that way. Thank you very much for joining me today and for being a part of this community of late diagnosed or whenever you were diagnosed ADHD women who refuse to let it hold them back. Your stories, your struggles, your successes, they inspire every episode of this podcast. Next week, we are looking at ADHD and gratitude and how we can reframe it to work with neurodivergent minds. Typical gratitude things don't always work for us, but I really do believe in the power of gratitude. So I want you to find ways that are going to work for your brain. So we're going to talk about that next week. So if today's episode resonated with you, I would love to hear what your body doubling experiences have been. So leave a comment and let me know what works for you. What surprised you the most about doing it? What surprised you the most about trying it? Let me know in the comments. Also, please join our free newsletter on my Substack. The link will be in the show notes so that you can get weekly tips and resources and much more. All right. So until next time, remember that working together isn't cheating. It is choosing strategies that honor how your beautiful and unique ADHD brain works. This is ADHD and with Jory Houlihan, because it's not just focus, it's everything. Stay curious, ladies.